When it comes to Pokemon story details, catching them all has gotten a lot more confusing over the years. Sun and Moon threw multiple dimensions into the mix, and now there's not just different timelines, but entirely different universes. Instead of a perfectly linear timeline where everything matches up, this timeline will take us through some different branches of Pokemon history. I'm Justice with the Leaderboard, and today we're doing our damnedest to bring you a comprehensive Pokemon timeline. The 3 timelines. Technically, there's 3 different timelines. First, there's the original timeline, which includes the games up through the 2nd generation, Red, Blue, and Yellow, through Gold, Silver, and Crystal. Next came the advanced or connected timeline, a more advanced dimension. This one consists of the 3rd generation games, Emerald and Fire Red and Leaf Green, and closes out with the 5th generation sequels, Black 2 and White 2. The 3rd and most recent timeline features Infinity Energy, Mega Evolutions, and far more scientific advances than the previous 2. You'll find Omega Ruby, Alpha Sapphire, X and Y, and Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon on this timeline. We're going to focus on the 2nd and 3rd timelines, since the first 2 gens have been cut out of the Poke Equation, and you're dreaming if you're thinking we're going anywhere near the anime. Sorry Ash, maybe next time. While sticklers might point out each game could take place in an entirely different universe, there's enough threads between the games to include them in the same timeline. But where's the new Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee fit in? We hope to get to the bottom of that mystery by the end of this video. The beginning. Each different dimension in Pokemon shares the same creation myths. Arceus creates Dialga and Palkia, and in the process, Giratina is created to represent antimatter. For being too violent, Giratina gets banished to the Distortion World. Uxie, Misprit, and Azelf are created to represent spirit, emotions, and serve to control Dialga and Palkia. Hundreds of millions of years ago, Primal Groudon raises land masses, and Primal Kyogre fills the seas that would later become Hoenn. Gigas walks the land, towing the continents into place with ropes. Primal Groudon and Primal Kyogre constantly fight, causing massive drought and flood problems. Meteors fall on a Draconid village, turning it into what would become Meteor Falls. The glowing rocks attract Rayquaza, who appears and overpowers Primal Groudon and Primal Kyogre, pushing them back into caverns where they slumbered again. The people of Hoenn take to worshipping Rayquaza as a savior. Okay, here's where the timeline splits. The Draconids pass along lore about the distortion in a world born by the Mega Evolution mechanism, hinting at another dimension where the Kalos War never happened, and where the ultimate weapon was never even built. No ultimate weapon, no Infinity Energy, no Mega Stones, no Mega Evolution. But though they're dimensionally separate, many of these events happen simultaneously across different regions. To try to have things make some sort of sense, we'll start off with the Advanced Dimension, then move into the Infinity Dimension. Advanced Dimension, 2,500 years prior to the events of Black and White. Twin brothers, known as the heroes of truth and ideals, use a single dragon to unite the warring peoples into a united Unova. Their constant arguing over their beliefs caused their dragon to split into Reshiram and Zekrom, with Reshiram siding with the older brother for truth and Zekrom siding with the younger brother for ideals. The Icy Curum is formed out of the remaining shell of the original dragon's body and takes refuge in Giant Chasm, which becomes a monstrous legend for the people of Lacunosa Town. Neither dragon could defeat the other, but both battled until Unova was destroyed. This civil war may have been the cause of the forest fire that led the Swords of Justice to appear. Relic Castle is built by one of the hero twins, which brings new civilization to Unova, Emerald. In Hoenn, Team Aqua and Team Magma, separate villains in Sapphire and Ruby, team up to cause trouble in Emerald. Traveling as Brendan or May across Hoenn to beat the region's 8 gym leaders, you cross their paths several times. They steal the Devon goods, which you return, and Professor Cosmo's meteorite, which they smuggle to Mount Chimney to use in a strange machine. You also run into wandering former trainer Steven, who helps you throughout the game. Overhearing plans for teams to head to Mount Pyre, you attempt to head them off, only to arrive just in time to see the team leaders make off with an orb. Tracking them down with the other orb in hand, you eventually make your way down to the watery depths of Seafloor Cavern, where the teams successfully wake both Kyogre and Groudon. They want to remold the world in their vision, but they can't control the super ancient Pokemon. The weather alternates between drought and flood as Groudon and Kyogre rampage over to Sootopolis. You climb the Sky Pillar to summon Rayquaza to calm them. Now, after defeating them, and if you're lucky, catching them, you can find Latios and Latias and head to the battle frontier. Pokemon Fire Red and Leaf Green. At the same time in Kanto, Professor Oak gives Red or Leaf a Pokédex and sends them on a journey to log every Pokemon in the new, fancy little device. A number of young adventurers and professors will come to follow this example in subsequent games. There's all kinds of technical innovations at this time in Kanto, with previously extinct Pokemon being revived from fossils and a new Pokemon box system being developed by Bill in coordination with Lynette and Hoenn. Meanwhile, Team Rocket is doing some really good crime, with fronts in Celadon, Saffron, and Viridian City. In between challenging the 8 gym leaders, you stop Team Rocket and their boss Giovanni at every turn. Along the way, you thwart both an illegal gambling ring in Celadon and a violent takeover of Silphco. Upon reaching the previously locked final gym in Viridian City, you discover that Giovanni is also the 8th gym leader and uses the gym as his base of operations. But by beating him once again, Giovanni is convinced that he needs to focus on Pokemon training, and he disbands Team Rocket right there before disappearing forever. After all of this, you finally make it to the Indigo Plateau and challenge the Elite Four. Unfortunately, your rival Blue has just become champion before you got there. Both of you battle to decide who should really become the Pokemon League champion. After becoming the champion, of course, you're also given access to Cerulean Castle and catch Mewtwo. 3 years later, Heart Gold and Soul Silver. In Heart Gold and Soul Silver, the remnants of Team Rocket are ramping up trouble in Johto. They start by cutting off and selling Slowpoke tails, then move on to forcing Pokemon evolution by radio frequency. Ultimately, they're trying to take over the Goldenrod radio tower to contact their former boss, Giovanni. Your main antagonist, Silver, tries to stop Team Rocket on his own. Giovanni actually does hear the message in his hideout in Tojo Falls. Oh, you don't remember that? That's probably because the event Celebi that triggers the scene was only given out for a short time, but it's out there. With the help of Celebi time traveling back 3 years, you see Giovanni talking to Silver, who turns out to be his son. They part angrily. Celebi then zaps you forward in time to the cave Giovanni is training in, immediately before Team Rocket broadcasts their message. After Giovanni is defeated, the remainder of Team Rocket disbands for good. From there, you battle all the Kimono girls and go on to encounter Ho-Oh or Lugia. After battling the Elite Four, Professor Oak gives you a ticket on the SS Anne to Vermilion City, where you battle the 8 Kanto gym leaders. Now champion of 2 regions, you return to Pallet Town, enter Mount Silver, and challenge the legendary trainer Red. Platinum. Meanwhile, over in Sinnoh, Cyrus leads Team Galactic in trying to destroy the entire universe and create a new one for themselves where they can rule. After taking over a wind farm and setting up base in Eterna City, Galactic takes over Sinnoh's lakes, Verity, Valor, and Acuity to capture the legendary Lake Guardian trio of Uxie, Mesprit, and Azelf. This is how you meet International Police Officer Looker, who's trying to bring down Team Galactic. Using crystals extracted from the Lake Trio, Cyrus creates the Red Chain to control legendary Pokemon Palkia, who controls space, and Dialga, who controls time. After freeing the trio, you head to Spear Pillar at the peak of Mount Coronet. Not only are both Dialga and Palkia summoned, but Giratina, who controls antimatter, drags Cyrus into their alternate dimension, the Distortion World. After you battle both Cyrus and Giratina, Looker arrests Charon, the last of Team Galactic's commanders, effectively ending their rule. Once you beat Sinnoh's Elite Four, you can capture both Dialga and Palkia, and even the big boy Regigigas at level 1. Guess he's a really slow starter. Only one thing left to do. Off to the battle frontier. 5 to 8 years later. Black and White. Your adventures take you around the island of Unova. Along the way, you run across Team Plasma, a Pokemon liberation group. Team Plasma believes that trainers should release all their Pokemon to avoid the suffering that comes from being held captive. While the group is officially led by In, Team Plasma also includes the 7 Sages, led by Ghetsis. In believes capturing one of the legendary twin hero dragons, Reshiram and Zekrom, and defeating Pokemon champion Alder will convince everyone to let their Pokemon go free. He summons his castle, which attaches to the Pokemon League. Wandering through it, you're able to summon the other hero dragon, capture it, and defeat In. Ghetsis comes forward and reveals he used In. His plan was to rid everyone but himself of Pokemon, so he would be the most powerful. After you defeat Ghetsis, Alder is restored to champion, and Looker appears to track down the remaining sages. 2 years later, Black 2 and White 2. Team Plasma's back in Unova once again, stealing Pokemon, including your rival's Purloin. Trying to get it back, you discover Ghetsis' plan to use the shell of the dragon Pokemon Kyurem to take over and freeze large parts of Unova. Friends are foes and vice versa. Pokemon researcher Colress joins Plasma to learn more about Pokemon. But former sage Rude helps you out. After defeating Ghetsis' personal escort, the Shadow Triad, you enter the giant chasm and confront Ghetsis. In shows up with his dragon, and Ghetsis forces Kyurem to fuse with it, forming either black or white Kyurem, depending on your game of choice. Defeat him, and the Pokemon unfuse. In thanks you, and Ghetsis leaves, with Team Plasma officially disbanded. As if Game Freak knew they were creating a whole new timeline, Black 2 and White 2 introduces the Pokemon World Tournament, which has you battling gym leaders and Elite Four from every generation up till this point. You get to see what some of the old trainers look like now, and it ties the entire advanced timeline together in one nice little package. Now strap in, we're moving on to the Infinity Dimension. But before we do, here's something you can do in our dimension. Sign up for the Leaderboard's ongoing free console giveaway. Just head over to theleaderboard.nyc/giveaway and log in with a social account to enter. Infinity Dimension. Back to 3,000 years ago, the Kalos War begins. A few years later, AZ receives Floette's remains in a box. She died during the war. AZ builds a machine to revive her using the life force of other Pokemon and ends up becoming immortal himself. He then turns into the ultimate weapon and uses it to stop the Kalos War at a terrible cost. Floette finds out everything and leaves him, while the king's younger brother buries the machine to prevent it from being used ever again. 2,000 years ago? A giant meteor slams into the earth, making what would become Sootopolis, and creates a huge keystone. The impact wakes up Primal Kyogre and Primal Groudon. Rayquaza becomes the first Pokemon to use the keystone for Mega Evolution, and puts an end to the fighting. AZ from Kalos sees this and refers to Mega Rayquaza as the Delta, born of the great disturbances in the world. By the bonds of mankind's wish and the power of the stones, it will calm the troubles that plague the world. The Draconids built the Sky Pillar to hold the huge keystone, bringing themselves closer to Rayquaza, and leave behind a record in murals. 1,000 years ago, Infinity Dimension. After 1,000 years of peace, the Draconids predict a meteor big enough to break the whole world. Omega Ruby, Alpha Sapphire. In Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire, both teams are present, but definitely not working together. Team Aqua wants to flood the Earth back to the primal times to expand Pokemon habitats. On the other hand, Team Magma wants to dry up the ocean to create more usable land for humans. Team Aqua or Magma steal the correct orb for primal reversion and successfully transform Kyogre and Groudon into their primal form. With Steven and Gym Leader Wallace's help, you defeat or capture the primal Pokemon and stop the wild weather. So far, it's roughly the same as the original games, except for primal revision and some flashy cutscenes. Now here's the big change, the Delta episode. After you defeat Steven and become Hoenn champion, a warning siren goes off at Moss Deep Space Center. A strange meteoroid able to change its trajectory is headed straight for the Sky Pillar. As Professor Cosmo tries to figure out how to stop it, a Team Magma or Aqua Grunt changes into a Draconid cape and shows up outside your Littleroot house. She introduces herself as Zinnia and says she knows about your Mega Evolution ability. She steals your keystone and books it to Petalburg City. While in hot pursuit, you're contacted by Steven and meet him in Rustboro. You listen to the full saga of the Kalos War, the ultimate weapon, and how Devon Corporation developed the technology into Infinity Energy. Again, none of this is part of the Advanced Dimension. Cosmo's plan is to use a keystone and Devon rocket to blast open a warp hole and send the meteorite into another dimension. Zinnia leaves disappointed in their solution. A pure meteor shard is necessary to create the warp, so Steven heads to Meteor Falls. You follow and are introduced to a Draconid woman who tells you the full myth of Rayquaza and his granting wishes to the Lore Keeper. Not only is Zinnia the Lore Keeper, but she was the one who told Team Magma and Aqua how to revive the primal Pokemon. It was all part of a larger plot to lure Rayquaza to Earth to destroy the meteorite, which she knew was coming because the Lore Keeper. Back in Moss Deep City, Team Magma and Aqua stole the control for a dimensional device they called the Link Cable. If only such a device existed in our universe. And planned to detonate the rocket, destroying the world. After a tussle, Zinnia reappears and gives the alternate universe speech we mentioned earlier, ultimately destroying the device. She rushes to the team commander, steals their keystone, and heads over to their main hideout, winning the team leader's keystone in battle. With everything she needs to summon Rayquaza, she invites you to join her at the Sky Pillar. After getting the now useless Megastone from Team Aqua and Magma's leader, you follow her. Zinnia summons Rayquaza, who, with the help of your meteorite, Mega Evolves. After winning over Rayquaza in battle, you ride out into space with him to destroy the meteor, which turns out to be the alien legendary Pokemon Deoxys. You then defeat Deoxys and save the world. After you return to Earth, you're able to access the Battle Resort. There, you'll meet a Team Magma and Team Aqua Grunt who've fallen in love and are determined to stay together. On the south side of the resort, lookers washed up on shore with bad amnesia. This'll all be important in a little bit. X and Y. Here we are with X and Y and the Kalos region. You befriend 4 trainers on their way to meet Professor Sycamore more in Lumio City, where strange power outages keep occurring. Learning about Mega Evolution, the professor gives you a Kanto starter Pokemon and sends you on your way with its accompanying Mega Stone, asking you all to research the phenomenon. On your way out of the city, you meet Lysander, who talks of a more beautiful world. You also run repeatedly into Team Flare, who at first seem to just want to use Pokemon for money. After harnessing the power of Mega Evolution, you stop Team Flare from stealing energy from the Kalos power plant, restoring energy to Lumios. After you get nearly all the gym badges, Lysander messages you and all of Kalos via Holocaster that he is the leader of Team Flare, and their real goal is to annihilate humanity. Not the most productive of goals, but hey, in your travels, you meet AZ, who reveals himself to be the immortal king whose ultimate weapon led to the deaths of countless amounts of Pokemon, and inadvertently created Mega Evolution. And after discovering Team Flare's secret lab under a cafe, you learn Lysander's plan to use the same weapon. It runs on the energy of the legendary Pokemon of your game, Xerneas or Yveltal. Finding and reaching the core of the weapon, you inadvertently awaken the dormant legendary and capture it. From there, it's a simple matter of battling and defeating Lysander. After you defeat the Elite Four and Champion, Professor Sycamore organizes a parade in your honor, where AZ challenges you to a battle. Learning what it means to be a trainer from you, his heart opens up and his beloved Floette returns to him after 3,000 years. Sun, Moon, and Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon. These games take place on the island of Alola. Professor Kukui creates a trainer passport before you move from Kanto to the island. Meanwhile, a young girl, later revealed to be Lily, steals a Pokemon from a lab. Before they're captured by security, they teleport away. On your way to get your starter Pokemon from the island Kahuna, you spot the girl and follow her. You rescue her Pokemon Cosmog, which she named Nebby, from being attacked. And by rescue, I mean you and Nebby fall off a bridge. Roll credits. But wait! The island's guardian Pokemon, Tapu Koko, swoops down, catches you and Nebby, and returns to the land, safe and sound. Inspired by your heroism, Tapu Koko gives you a sparkling stone, the raw material for a Z-Ring. And after starting your island challenge with your buddy Hao, and making your way through your home island of Melee, your island Kahuna turns your stone into a Z-Ring. Now your favorite Pokemon can do Z-moves! The island challenge may look a little different, but it's still a Pokemon journey all the same. On the way, you cross paths with Team Skull, misfits who failed the island challenge and go around stealing people's Pokemon. They're led by the big bad Guzma and big sister Plumeria. Unlike previous teams, they don't have a specific goal in mind as an organization. But the Aether Foundation has their own grand designs to watch out for. Their president, Lusamine, becomes fascinated by Ultra Beasts after you're attacked by one during your first meeting. It's revealed that Team Skull and the Aether Foundation work together to kidnap Lily and Nebby and use Nebby in summoning more Ultra Beasts. Did we mention that Lily is Lusamine's daughter? Yeah, that's not okay. Lily's edgelord brother, Gladion, is also sick of how their mother has been obsessed. He joins Team Skull before you bring him onto your side. Even after fighting through the entire foundation and defeating Lusamine, she and Guzma open up an Ultra wormhole, transporting them into Ultra space, evolving Nebby and unleashing Ultra Beasts all over the island. You and Lily perform a ritual to evolve Nebby into Solgaleo or Lunala and fly into Ultra space with them. There, Lusamine refuses to be rescued, emerging with the Ultra Beasts from earlier. It's real weird when Lily and Lusamine yell at each other. The player battles until Nebby separates them and returns everyone to the island. Nebby decides to go with you. After all that, you make your way up to Lanakila and become the first ever Alolan Pokemon League champion. You're then contacted by two officers from the International Police, Annabelle, who we last saw as Salon Maiden Annabelle from Pokemon Emerald's Battle Tower, and Looker, who seems to be doing just fine. You then agree to help them recapture the Ultra Beasts let loose by Lusamine. It's debated whether Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon is an enhanced version of Sun and Moon, or whether it's in a dimension of its own. It's got the Ultra Recon Squad popping up from Ultra Megalopolis after Necrozma stole their light, and even traveling through Ultra Space. And let's not forget Episode RR, where Rainbow Rocket, a greatest hits villain squad, where the losers from the 3 known Pokemon dimensions were winners in others. This time, they're scheming to use the Ultra Wormhole technology to take over other worlds. Colress makes a reappearance, there's teleportations aplenty. This is a game where the multiverse theory just repeatedly smacks you over the head. And now, finally, let's figure out where Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee fits in all of this. This game definitely has Mega Evolutions as mentioned, so it's gotta be part of the Infinity Universe, right? At the same time, it's specifically riffing off Pokemon Yellow. But like every other sister game, it's different. The gameplay is closer to Pokemon Go. Still, this one's a pretty easy slam dunk. Every other sister game, with the exception of Black 2 and White 2, a direct sequel, has taken place around the same time as its base game. Odds are, this is an alternate version of the OG Pokemon Yellow, placing it alongside the rest of the games in that era. Then again, you're also not playing with Red or Blue in this game, because they've already done their journey in this timeline before you start. So perhaps it's the beginning of a new dimension altogether. Barring any future wormholes, Giovanni clones, or other ridiculousness in the future for now, we've got the Pokemon timeline. I can only hope this video helped you snap out of confusion. Also, be sure to look at our video on how Pokemon Let's Go changes things. I'm Justice with the Leaderboard. Thanks for watching, and please like and subscribe for more videos like this one.